What is it, Christmas?
I thought it was Monday.
That means we only have till next week. That's just not enough time. Look, if we're gonna find the so-called Secret Santa, we need to find the most valuable Christmas gift we can.
What's the big deal? I got you this.
You got him a gun?
No, I got him bullets.
Okay, look, we just need something that's cheap to make, that still somehow has a lot of value.
But what about this?
Wow, so many cool games are coming out. Which one should I buy? That one. Why would I waste money on a brand new experience when I could waste money on one from last week? Video game re-release is the act of taking a game that's already out and doing it again. It doesn't matter that you'll buy it again. You don't care about money. You're a Nintendo fan. Remember that time you bought Donkey Kong for $50? Well, now you get to relive it by buying it for $60. Oh, fuck yeah.
Where's your tree?
I sold it to buy us some time. Look, all we have to do is just find something that'll bring the Secret Santa to us. If this Newberry comic receipt is correct, which they are always correct, he will grant us any game that we want.
What would we even ask for?
Oh, I know. How about some chairs?
That's not a video game.
Fine, musical chairs.
When a video game gets re-released, you should often ask yourself why. Why should I buy this game that I already own? Well, because this one supports the color blue. Devil May Cry 3 Dante's Awakening Special Edition, because this title did not have enough damn syllables. While not the first instance of a game being re-released with more content, DMC3 is probably one of the more well-known examples of a re-release. This release would add new difficulties, more costumes, and the ability to play as the final boss, Virgil. This is awesome. Virgil plays just like he did in his boss fights, it adds replay value, and they just made the game better. And this trend would continue with DMC4, except this time a little different. DMC4's Special Edition was for the PS4 and Xbox One systems the game wasn't on. And not only that, but it added 3 playable characters this time, with Virgil, Lady, and Trish. This re-release is so much better than DMC3 Special Edition. There isn't much more, but the fact that bringing it to modern consoles would have been cool enough to see, but then to add this much on top is awesome. Then they got too comfortable. DMC5 is where I realized that I was kind of sick of this trend. DMC5 Special Edition only included Virgil, Legendary Dark Knight mode, and Turbo mode. The most important of these was like $5 on the PS4 version and released the same day. But this was a PS5 launch title. Though DMC5 was already playable on this console because of backwards compatibility, if you wanted the 2 features you couldn't get on PS4, you had to shell out $40, and what's worse was you couldn't transfer your save data, which meant starting over from scratch. This all should have just been added to the base game to turn that into a special edition, like how fighting games re-release themselves as Mortal Kombat 11 Ultimate, stuff like that. Re-releasing the last 2 games made sense because on the PS2 you couldn't just update a game or release DLC, and DMC4 added way more alongside bringing it to new systems that it couldn't be played on in the PS4's case. This re-release not only added less than DMC4, but it's also on a system that the game is already readily available on, and it just feels like missed potential.
I thought you liked that game.
I do, it's one of the best action games of all time.
Then why do you bitch about it so much?
Get the fuck out of my house.
Capcom has a bit of a track record with re-releasing games. The original Resident Evil was re-released as Resident Evil Director's Cut. Marvel vs. Capcom 3 got Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3 because God forbid this man be in the base game of anything. And they re-released Street Fighter 2 as I Give Up. Most re-releases are ports, the justification being bringing a game to a new platform. RE4 was a GameCube exclusive until it wasn't. Onimusha was exclusive to the PS2 until it wasn't. But that's enough talking about Capcom. Lord knows I could go on all day with all of their re-releases. Instead, let's look at some more special edition re-releases. Metal Gear Solid 2 Substance is a good one that comes to mind. This version not only added content like Boss Rush, Snake Tales, and the skateboarding minigame, but would also bring the game over to Xbox. Kinda makes you wonder why DMC3 stayed on the PS2, especially since in Onimusha's case, Genma Onimusha was an Xbox exclusive. I will never understand this company, but this re-release is just better than the original in every way. If you have a choice, this has much more bang for your buck, and the same goes for Metal Gear Solid 3 Subsistence. This added a new choice for camera control, going from fixed camera to giving you full analog camera control for the first time in the series. There was the Secret Theater, a secret area of the demo theater that had goofy parodies of the game's cutscenes, an Ape Escape crossover, and the first release of Metal Gear Online, a fully online multiplayer mode. There was also a limited edition that I don't own. I want to, but as much as I hate to admit it, I need money at least a little bit. This came with a third disc which contained all of the cutscenes with remastered audio, meant for players who couldn't beat the game to still see the story pan out. It also had the E3 trailer for Metal Gear Solid 4. The first game also technically got a re-release in the same vein with Metal Gear Solid Integral. It added more difficulties, had more VR missions included, had a first-person mode where you could move around and shoot in first person. But I don't own it. I know what you're thinking, but there are some things that you can just live without. And this is not one of them, thank God it's in the Master Collection. These are some amazing re-releases that justify their existence and then some, and I cannot wait until I find a way to bitch about them. These games, along with Peace Walker, would be re-released in HD for the PlayStation 3. These versions were based on the re-releases, but some content was missing. Things like the skateboarding in the secret theater were removed, Snake vs. Monkey was gone, nothing from the limited edition disc of MGS3 was present. They're not bad re-releases in any regard, being able to play them in HD is a huge plus, but it holds them back from being clear definitive editions, especially when something like the Razor and MGS2 just straight up doesn't work in this release. This issue persists in the Master Collection Volume 1, since MGS2 and 3 here are just the HD collection versions with some fixes. They didn't even bother removing the loading symbol that just says HD Collection. Though this isn't as much of a re-release as much as it is a collection of ports, something like Sonic Mega Collection, so I think it's best to save my thoughts on that for a more appropriate video.
Really? That's where you draw the line?
I didn't draw it, I said it.
You're saying a lot, but I'm not sure it means anything.
Yeah, I don't hear enough bitching.
How would bitching help us find the perfect gift?
Process of elimination. We just need to find something that you can't bitch about, and that'll lead us to the Secret Santa.
Okay, fine, I'll start bitching. Someone just needs to give me a Nintendo game.
Like Mario?
No, like Luigi.
I could do both.
What is this bullshit? You could argue that New Super Mario Bros. Gets more hate than it deserves. These are perfectly fine 2D platformers. Though you can't pretend they weren't getting a little stale by the fourth entry. There was one on every Nintendo console since the DS, and New Super Mario Bros. U was a Wii U launch title back in 2012, so it was safe to assume that the Switch would get one around launch too. It had been a good 5 years. But no, instead, in 2019, we got a port of New Super Mario Bros. And Luigi U, with one new character and power-up for full retail price. This is more expensive than when the game launched. It's the same price as Mario Wonder, an original 2D Mario game. For this price, why not make a collection of all the New Super Mario Bros. Games? Then it would have a bit more worth, but no. Instead, they just re-released the most recent one, upped the resolution, removed boost mode and all of its challenges. So in some ways it's less content. I mean, it makes sense, this isn't the Wii U, and boost mode was a very Wii U-centric game. But what's the point of this? A slightly less terrible example is Donkey Kong Country Returns and Tropical Freeze. Returns was re-released on the 3DS with a few new levels, an easier difficulty mode, and better controls that don't require Parkinson's. Sure, it doesn't look as good, but this is a great way to play this amazing game. Now for Tropical Freeze it's slightly different. This time the only thing they added was Funky Kong, which is pretty much just this game's easy mode. This release doesn't really make sense to me, while it is a better version and one worth getting if you don't own the game. It's kind of disappointing that this is $60 and the original release was $50, compared to how good DK Returns 3D was. But the Switch is no stranger to re-releases. A lot of Wii U games would be re-released on the Switch, which is a great thing. It saved them from the fate of forever being referred to as Wii U games. Pikmin 3, Wonderful 101, Captain Toad, Bayonetta 2, but I think the best re-releases for Switch are Mario Kart 8 Deluxe and Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe was released close to the launch of the Switch. Mario Kart 8 on the Wii U was already one of the best ways to combine these three words, but it had a few problems that stood out pretty big compared to the rest of the series. Firstly, you could only ever hold one item, which isn't that big of a deal, but many veterans just didn't like the change. But what was a big problem was the battle mode. Balloon Battle was the only mode and there were no battle arenas. They just reused tracks from the regular races. This sucked! Battle mode was never what sold Mario Kart, but it's been a mainstay since the first game, and to have it be all but cut like this was massively disappointing. So when it came time to re-release this game for Switch to make that first year all that more appealing, they listened to feedback. You could hold 2 items again, Deluxe came with all of the original DLC, and not only did it give battle mode real arenas, but it also added 4 more modes on top of it. This brings it up there as one of the best Mario Karts ever, and with this version getting its own DLC tracks, this game has more content than almost any other Mario Kart. The racetracks alone now make this the size of 3 standard Mario Kart games. Look at what this game looked like at launch. We were fine with this. It's no wonder that this game is always on the best sellers charts on the eShop. If you own a Switch, you probably own this game, and if not, then do you even exist? This is an amazing re-release, even though the game is almost 10 years old. The only problem is that it's gonna be hard to make a game on par with this for the next one. Similarly to Smash Ultimate, it's gonna be hard knowing that the next entry, inevitably, just isn't gonna be as big as this one. But that's a problem for future me to bitch about. Now Mario 3D World is just on a whole nother level. 3D World is already an amazing game on its own, but this version is just better. It tweaked the movement speed to make it a bit faster, which I think is weird. I didn't think the original had any problems, but I'm fine with it. They added the dive from Mario Odyssey to the standard moveset, which I honestly didn't really notice at first. Doing this had just become second nature to me, so it's nice to see so much from Odyssey was brought over to this game. This is already a pretty meaty package, but then they threw a plus sign onto this. Bowser's Fury is a full new mode using 3D World as a basis. The whole world is seamless. There are a bunch of these cat shines to collect. Every once in a while, Bowser wakes up and it starts playing this intense music, and he starts attacking you. You get this really big bell, and you grow big and fight him off. Then it goes back to this peaceful melody while you explore the island and world more. It is amazing. Bowser's Fury will only last you about 3 hours at most, but it is an amazing look at what Nintendo is likely trying to do with the next mainline 3D Mario. This whole package is just an amazing release. They could have just ported 3D World over, but instead they went the extra step to make sure this is one of the best ways to experience 3D Mario in general. They also released this. Say what you will about the value of Super Mario 3D All-Stars, I think the collection is fine. Mario 64 and Galaxy are as good as they were at the original releases, and as far as I know, this is the only time Sunshine has ever been re-released or ported. But this collection just feels lackluster. It's as if they initially planned to release all 3 separately, then at the last second just threw them all into one package. In fact, that's what I thought the plan was, because for some reason Nintendo decided that they just hate money, and made this a limited release. You cannot buy this from the eShop anymore. I thought they were just going to release the game separately after the collection went off, but this is still the only way to play these games on the Switch, with the exception of 64 being on the N64 Online expansion. But for Sunshine and Galaxy, you're gonna have to track down a used copy. And a lot of stores still have some in stock because I guess Nintendo overestimated how much this would sell. But it's still such a stupid decision. The limited release is definitely the dumbest thing about this, but the collection also just felt empty. It had the games and the soundtracks, not even having Mario Galaxy 2, despite using music from it from that game's intro sequence. If you do the math, then you could easily justify this being $60. But if you have to do the math, then is it really worth it? I know what you're thinking. I thought you were saving your thoughts on the collections for a more relevant video topic. I am, but this entire release was just too stupid to ignore.
This is pointless. He can bitch about anything.
I said Mario Kart and 3D World were good.
Yeah, you said good. We need something great.
They are great.
They may be great, but we need something better.
There's no way this works. These are flooded with problems we could bitch about.
Not me. I'm not allowed to bitch. Court order.
If we can't decide on one game, why not do just a shit ton at once?
Summoned by the smell of that pile of shit, I am Christmas! As the Santa manuscripts foretold, I will grant you one game. The single game you desire most, the most valuable re-release.
Why did we do this again?
Just shut the fuck up.